Welcome back, gamers, to another episode of reacting to this debate. So far, we've debated really hard with Rudy. He's put up a formidable soy front, what I guess you could call it. Oh, Palestinians are my family, but there's no genocide or apartheid. That's all a lie.
Parents, grandparents.
Anyway, we were at the part where they were talking about Rudy's ethnic background. Rudy Rockman here, is claiming indigeneity to Palestine / Israel. And, it doesn't matter, but we'll listen to it anyway.
Where did they live?
My ancestors come from Israel.
No, after that.
Great. Oh, nice. That was a relevant ad,
When we were
at least. Very relevant. I wonder if Rudy gets these ads. Probably not, right?
Place from
Yeah,
Israel?
where was it?
Okay, on my mother's side, Morocco and Algeria. My dad's side, Poland and Belgium.
Okay.
That is the
So
displacement that we went
you're
through.
You're kind of half-half.
Yeah, I'm
but
half Ashkenazi, half Sephardi experience.
Palestinian Jews have different rights than someone who never been to
What does that mean, a
Palestine.
Palestinian Jew?
A Jewish person who lived in Palestine
Okay, so you're
before
talking
the
about
establishment of Israel.
So today they're Israeli citizens.
What I'm trying to say, there's a big difference between the rights of a Jewish who came from Poland and Germany and had no connection to the land with someone who lived there all their lives.
Well, first of all, the Jews that were displaced doesn't mean that they don't come from this land. As Palestinians who are now born second, third generation in Chile.
Yeah, bro, look at me. I come from Palestine. I'm Jewish. Yeah. Look at me, dude. I am so Palestinian. Obviously, this guy is, look, very Palestinian colored eyes. I got that Palestine hair. I speak like a Palestinian Habibi. Yeah. It's such a ridiculous thing to argue on. Like
In America and Jordan and other places, they also have a connection to land. We're not going to erase it because they had a displacement.
Kicking people out of their homes.
I'm against kicking people out. We're talking about right now the fact that they had a displacement. It doesn't disconnect them from the land.
The reality of the matter is
not
the
considering.
fact what's happening on the ground.
Respond. I would appreciate not considering Ashkenazi Jews as foreigners. When the state of Israel was created,
they are foreign. God. Yeah, dude. If you immigrate to a country you've never been to, have no family in, or have no family from there, you're a foreigner. I hate to break it to you. Like,
every single citizen of that state, whether Jewish or not Jewish,
how do you see the Ethiopian
rights.
Jews?
What about the Ethiopian
How
Jews?
do you see them?
I see them as my brothers
How
and
they are
sisters.
being treated?
Actually, my main project that I'm doing in my life is bringing back the.
This is just like a argument over whether words mean what they mean in the English language.
Rest of the tribes of Israel in Africa, not just the Ethiopians, but the Igbos in Nigeria.
I don't know why we're having a debate if we agree on everything. We're talking about you came to present the point of view of an Israeli government and the Jewish people.
I'm not here to present the view of the Israeli government. You're falsely communicating.
Cap. I need my button. Nope. Cap. Big cap.
That's what they did. Okay. I'm here to represent my own positions, which many Jews and many Israelis believe in, that we can be able to live together. And the definitions that we have are very, very important, because you're saying you're not against the right for the Jewish people to self-determine on the ancestral homeland, which makes
and what this guy means by that is Jews need to maintain a demographic majority, i.e. an ethno-state, over the land of Palestine. But, because he's either an agent or so belligerently stupid, he's gonna pretend like that's not what it means, despite having been confronted with that multiple times in this, one round of debate.
Makes you not an anti-Zionist, which makes you
no,
not.
I am an anti-Zionist
Well,
because that's not what I believe in
right?
Zionism.
A different definition.
Exactly.
And that's why it's important to understand the definitions
what
aren't
I'm trying
what's
to make you
important.
understand that people who are here who
Should I
say
define
we are
what a Palestinian is?
no, but I'm defining
So don't
myself.
define
I'm
what a
talking about
Zionist is.
myself. Everybody's here who says I'm anti-Zionist. They are anti-apartheid, anti-genocide, anti-ethnic cleansing, anti the brutal treatment of the Israeli government of the Palestinians, anti-colonization, anti-confiscating of lands, anti all kind of racism and inequality that's happening in Palestine to the Palestinians. That's what we define by saying we are anti-Zionism. That is not a racist. That's not anti-Semitic. That's nothing that has to do with the Jewish faith.
Right.
It's all about the actions and the atrocities that the Israeli government is committing. So that's what we mean.
I'm against apartheid, genocide.
So you're an anti-Zionist. Good job.
Settlements, which is not.
Good job. We are proud of you now.
Which is not taking place there. Okay.
Oh yeah, it's not taking place. Just don't go read any of these things. Don't go look at any of this. Anyway.
Okay. And when you are saying that you're an anti-Zionist, to be anti-something, you have to know what that something is. And as a doctor, as someone who's very intellectual, as someone who lived in this land, has experience, knows other Jews, you should know that Zionism existed before anti-Zionism. And Zionism is the idea that we have a right to self-determine on that ancestral homeland.
No, Zionism's a racist settler colonial ideology akin to Manifest Destiny in the United States. But, the Jewish version of Manifest Destiny.
The way you and your fellow Jewish and Israeli citizens define and raise the flag of Zionism, that's what makes us say we are anti-Zionist.
No,
that's what's happening.
What I'm telling you now, I'm here right in front of you, is that Zionism only means the idea that it should have a right to live in this land, and I'm against the suffering of Palestinians.
On the expense of everybody else.
No, not
at
at the expense. Why are you always blaming the Jews and Israelis as the expense?
Because that's happened.
No, because you see it as a zero-sum game. There's a good guy and there's a bad guy. What about the communities of Israel that were destroyed?
We've got to pause here. We're out of time for this claim. Please return to your seats.
It's a masquerade party to die for.
She looks stunning, doesn't she?
And there's no sweeter night for a
My next surrounded claim is that Jews are indigenous.
Oh, bro. This is the most pointless claim to argue on. Like, do I even want to watch this part? It's like, depending on what you mean by indigenous, you exclude the political context of Israel, or I guess the historical context. If you don't count the historical context of settlers in Israel, and interpret indigenous as a political designation, i.e. peoples who were colonized as indigenous, sure, I guess. Doesn't really matter.
Indigenous to the land of Israel.
All right, if you would like to be the first debater, get to the seat in 3, 2, 1.
Hi, it's nice to meet you.
Likewise, how are you?
Doing well. So I'd like to know more about why you believe that and where that comes from.
Sure. So when I make a claim about the Jewish people, it's never against another population. And when I'm saying that the Jews are indigenous to the land of Israel, it's where we come from. If you dig in the land, you find our history. This is the land that our ancestors have come from. We've maintained a constant presence, and thankfully we were able to come back to that land freely.
Sure. Would you identify yourself as a Zionist?
So I'd say that there are many different thought leaders that were involved in the modern political movement called Zionism, and that there are many different branches: the right-wing Zionism, left-wing Zionism, secular Zionism, religious Zionism, even Christian Zionism, which I'm completely against. But the fundamental idea of Zionism, which comes...
Why are you against Christian Zionism? It's because it's all just evangelicals who believe in a doomsday prophecy? But you're You picked out Christian Zionism to be the one you're against, but not right-wing Zionism like Jabotinsky or Ben-Gvir and Beitar. Those guys.
From the word Zion, which means Jerusalem, is the idea that the Jewish people should have a
my God, bro. No.
right to self-determine on their ancestral homeland of Judea/Israel. So do I believe that the Jews should have a right to come back home? Absolutely, I do.
Sure. So I was also wondering why, because this is a debate about pro-Palestine versus pro-Israel, I was also wondering why you believe that indigeneity plays a role in pro-Israel, like, actions.
For sure. So to define indigeneity first, if the United Nations actually defined it for what is widely accepted in academic spaces, which is that your identity is the pre-colonial identity that was born and rooted to a particular and specific piece of land that is
So this guy's gonna really argue that most Jews in Israel are indigenous under that definition? Is that seriously what he's gonna argue in favor of? Like, I didn't even think he'd bring up this definition because it just spits in the face of his claim. That's crazy. What the fuck?
Is essential to that people's identity and way of life. They've maintained a constant presence in that land, and they collectively identify with this term. And the reason why it's so important to speak about this is because there are a lot of people who claim to be pro-Palestinian, who use Palestinian struggles in order to try to delegitimize my ancestral connection and my right to live there. So I'm for the
Yeah, but your family wasn't from there, dude. Oh my God, dude. This is crazy. I guess that's why he dodged the question the old dude gave him asking about where he's from. Because if he said he was born in France and raised in Miami, everybody would be laughing at him right now. I don't know. Are they not allowed to use their phones to Google his background here? This has to be a real academic experience where you take notes and come prepared. Instead of having your sources and references on you, like in your pocket, in your phone.
for the right for other people to live there as well. But when people are trying to delegitimize who I am and the collective that belongs here as well, that's when I have a problem.
Okay, so here.
Yeah. It's so fucking it's such pussy shit. Oh my God, dude. It's crazy. They're delegitimizing my identity as a French-born American who claims indigeneity to Palestine. Ugh.
Here's sort of where I'm coming from. From what I understand about indigeneity, it is a concept, just like intelligence, love, which means that it can be essentially defined.
Something I wrote that you said
This
return
section
of the
is so
people
dumb.
to the land, and indigeneity is pre-colonial identity. You were identifying the Jews being indigenous, and that's why they were not practicing colonialism. It was pre-colonial. Would you agree with how I described your sentiment?
So the idea that the Jews should have a right to return to their ancestral homeland is a decolonization movement, not a
Dude, what level of racist bullshit do you have to be on to interpret Israel as a decolonization movement? They're decolonizing it from who, dude? From who? The British? Are they still there? No, they mean the Arabs. The Arabs colonized Israel, and therefore all the Palestinians are actually colonizers, despite them having roots there for, back to Jesus. Ugh, it's so dumb.
colonization movement. Now, we can criticize certain policies the government has, the IDF has, and I might even agree with certain things. There's a lot of criticism that I have of the current structure. But by its nature, it is an anti-colonial decolonization movement.
So there are words in Hebrew that were used pre the creation of the state of Israel that mean to settle, to colonize. And they were used in the correspondence of Ben-Gurion.
Dude, fucking Theodore Herzl called it a colonial movement. Called Zionism something colonial. And then the people who carried that out also recognized what they were doing as colonial and ethnic cleansing too, like Jabotinsky.
The Lehi, and it was very clear that they were using language. It's to settle, to colonize. If they believed themselves to not be colonizers, why were they directly using this language back then?
Back then,
being a colonizer wasn't considered a bad thing in Western society, so because they were getting their support from the West, they had no qualms about calling themselves colonizers and advertising their settlement movement too, because even there just wasn't much awareness around the harms and immorality of colonialism, especially for people who weren't on the frontiers of it. Because if you were on the frontier, you were you were probably I hate to say it, but I imagine a lot of Americans that were on the frontier of colonialism probably looked like those hilltop goons with the braids. I don't know. I would say, should I just unfilter myself and no.
What that term meant was
but it's just because it was a different time, man, and now people learned about colonialism and they learned it's bad. So now Israel has to change its PR to say, oh no, actually we're decolonizers. like they're part of the Turtle Island Liberation Front or something.
Development of land. So if you read Herzl's writing, he talks about that the native inhabitants are the Jewish people. There are other inhabitants, what we call today as Palestinians, who live there, and we should live together with them. And the use of the term colonization then, because obviously today it's not a popular word, we're all against this idea, then meant development of the land. So you have to...
Wow. Actually, words don't mean what they mean. They actually meant developing the land back when they were, trying to settle it and buy it off of the landlord, buy off Palestinian homes and farms from landlords and the British.
To also understand the context in which words are being used, because words are sounds coming out of our mouths, and the meanings have to do.
Do you recognize that right now, because the West has now recognized that colonialism is bad, we are saying, oh, we don't identify with that language. That language meant something back then, and it was used for a particular reason.
And it means different than what it means today.
You dissociating yourself, or Israel dissociating itself from that language, does not erase the preconditions that it existed, the plan that it was trying to achieve.
The plan that it was trying to achieve is to bring back sovereignty to the indigenous population. When you dig in this...
No, the plan that was achieved was Plan Dalet, a terror campaign that Zionist militias like the Lehi, forget the other two significant ones, but they all operated with the approval of the Haganah, and basically committed a terror campaign, massacres, putting war sounds on loudspeakers to spook the local residents of Palestinian villages and cities, to scare them into moving out, thinking that a war was coming. And then when, this started in March of 1948, around then, went on for a couple months, and then some neighboring Arab countries sent a response force in May or April of 1948 to address the Zionist terrorists. And then that's what we call that's what Israel calls the 1948 Arab-Israeli War. It's what Palestinians call the Nakba, that event. That was the plan. It wasn't to develop Palestine. I mean, under Albert Einstein's idea, that would have been, under Albert Einstein's leadership, that would have been the plan. You know, a one binational state where Jews can move in and Palestinians, you know, maintain their dignity and sovereignty. But that's not what Zionist militias had in mind.
Line, you find Jewish history. This is where we come from. Now, there are individuals that use the term colonization because then it was very popular. And it didn't mean go and exploit another population, take away their resources, exploit it back to a motherland. That's not what it meant then. That's what it means today. And so back then it meant the development of land. We both...
Yeah. Well, in one way, this is correct because Israel did come in and uproot a lot of the olive farms and native flora and fauna in order to create a more Western style of local production, local food crop production. But, you know, it's not... So
development of land is exactly colonial language, and it's being used today consistently. This language
if you are an indigenous person and you want to develop your land, that's not colonization. It is colonization or not colonization.
If people existed in that land prior to you going to develop that land, they are also indigenous to that land.
The Jews had a constant presence, and I didn't make an argument against Palestinians.
The Jews did have a constant.
I'm not making an argument against Palestinians. I'm making an argument that the Jews
with
are indigenous to the land of Israel,
Arabs, with Christians,
and I'm all for that.
And they existed.
I'm all for that
happened?
coexistence.
The development meant erasing all of that. Meant erasing their identity.
This guy just wants to debate like the fucking history of it because he doesn't want to offer, like, this is why he's like brings it to these questions instead of offering, so like talking about what the solution here is, because, you know, he's well read enough on the history of Israel and the counter talking points to the new historians' understanding of Israel's creation. You know, like Avi Schleim and Elon Pape's new historian books and what they have written about. But yeah, it's just gonna fucking argue on these pointless questions and claims. Ugh. It doesn't even... Let's just skip ahead.
Grounded claim is that Zionism is not colonization, it is decolonization.
Brother.
Bruh. All right, if you would like to be the next debater, get to the chair in 3, 2, 1.
Rudy, I respect your ability to have a calm demeanor, and I think that your patience can do well for an Instagram career. I just don't understand how you can look someone in the face whose family's home has been bulldozed by the IOF and tell him that you see him as a cousin. That is just insane. And I want you to be able to explain to that how you rationalize the incongruity of saying that you are here to protect people that are indigenous and living in the land.
Because the bulldozer was collateral damage, Mason. It's just collateral damage. You know, it was an inevitability, I guess. I don't know. I guess that's what this guy probably tells himself to help him sleep at night. You know?
Well, whitewashing and carrying water for a genocidal regime.
So the same way that there are many Palestinians who've killed family members of mine, people of mine, I don't see
Who? When did a Palestinian kill your family member? Why didn't you talk about that? If you actually want to do this fucking, like, tit for tat count, like, I don't know, it's not even, like, worth looking up. You can just fucking, like, everybody knows the fucking Gaza Health Ministries, count, which is still an undercount. Just compare that to October 7th. Like, it's just totally incongruent, and incomparable harms being conducted here. But it's asymmetrical. One side has to give up something if you want an actual, non-genocidal resolution. And that's the side with the power.
See all Palestinians as responsible for that. So if he's going to criticize a policy that was done against his family, I don't know the particular case that happened is against his family, but it sounds horrible. I can recognize that that's something horrible and still be able to see him as my family. What you've currently associated is that anyone who is pro-Israel and believes that the Jews have a right to self-determine must mean that they're anti-Palestinian. And that is what has been plaguing us from being able to move forward, because I see Palestinians as my family.
Yeah, it's definitely guys like me. It's the 20 activists around you that are stopping things from moving forward, not the people in power. And yeah, it's actually these activists that hold little to no political power that are stopping things from moving forward.
Support the rights to live in this land as equal citizens of this land.
I want to believe that. I want to believe that those are your genuine feelings. I really do. I'm not going to sit here and criticize your own personal morals or ideology.
Sure.
But what I will say is the regime that you are justifying does not believe that. They do not see the humanity in the people that they bomb indiscriminately. I've experienced the tactics of the IDF, not because I've stepped foot in Israel or Gaza or the West Bank, but because ICE agents right now are currently being trained by the IOF on the tactics to use against civilian populations. They might have different uniforms, but the ideology is exactly the same. You permanently call an entire population a security threat, you militarize enforcement, and then you demand that those citizens are detained or removed in order to show the full force of that regime, whether that is Israel or whether that's the United States. So when I'm seeing that done to my neighbors domestically, whether that's migrants or citizens that are being killed in the street, or I see that in a Palestinian that is under rubble from Israeli bombs, I feel that sense that I know what humanity looks like. And when I see people who defend Israel tell me to not believe my own eyes, when I'm watching videos constantly scrolling of babies being murdered, I cannot sit here and say that you believe what you say when you say that Israel is having their best interests in mind.
Sure. So there's plenty of disagreements that I have with the Israeli government. I don't know one Israeli that doesn't disagree with aspects of the Israeli government, and we can go into those details. You said that Israel is indiscriminately bombing Palestinians. That is not true. What we see, that is not. I let you finish. There's things.
Really, it's not true. Oh. Huh. Well, I still see some buildings standing there, so obviously it's not indiscriminate. Or maybe here's a better. Huh. Looks like they kind of just destroyed an entire neighborhood. Oh. It's just not true. Indiscriminate bombings? What? It's just not true. Anyway, could spend hours scrolling through destruction. It's like Yeah, this guy is just a fuck. It's crazy. Ugh, it's just insane how you can say that with a straight face. You gotta be an agent.
Statements.
I don't know how to allow you to just say lies like this.
As an Israeli, okay, who served in the army, who was brought back in reserves, and
Israel, like, when the Iran, like, it's not even just Gaza. They do this in Lebanon too. Like when the Iran ceasefire was announced, like Israel killed 300 people in 10 minutes of bombing. Like in Lebanon, in Beirut. Like, you know, it's just crazy.
Was in Gaza, in Lebanon, in Syria, doing my best to prevent us from fighting and to stop this situation from continuing. It is not true what you're saying. What you saw is Instagram reels. What you
Instagram reels. The Guardian. The Guardian is just publishing Instagram reels. How disgusting. They're just doing Hamas propaganda. New York Times. Oh man, just an Instagram reel.
saw is videos on YouTube. And yes, there were horrible situations where civilians died, and that's my family. Those are my cousins that have
Oh my God. Just
perished due to this conflict. And that's why it gives us a greater responsibility. I let you finish. It gives us a greater responsibility to correct what happened. But Israel does not indiscriminately bomb. It sends leaflets. It calls phones. It does everything that it can to prevent civilians dying. Right?
How long before they bomb a hospital? Or how long before they bomb a school?
72 hours. I found leaflets there of 72 hours.
72 hours to leave your roots in communities before we bomb the shit out of it.
To get
That's
out,
what you're saying right now.
Unfortunately, Hamas has used your area in order to fight from there and has stored weapons and are using those weapons to attack civilians.
Let me tell you, if there are someone that's robbing a bank and they hold up children as human shields.
This guy would not like it if Iran applied this standard to Israel. Because then Iran would have free range to bomb the city center of Tel Aviv, because that's where the IDF headquarters are. You think they're storing weapons there?
I'm going to say that the police shooting through those kids is not something that we can justify.
No,
so I don't give a
nobody's
fuck what you say about, we're going to be able to use human shields. That's why we have justification to bomb hospitals. That is absolutely insane.
Of being respectful. If we look at the two...
I said I respect you for it, but I can't do it after...
Don't respect this guy. Fuck this guy. Are you kidding me? He's a psycho.
You're saying this right now. But I'm understanding what your motives are when you say that you worked in the IOF.
There are over 2 million.
There are over 2 million people. Absolutely not congruent with reality.
So let's
just hear the propaganda from the professional propagandists.
Okay, projection.
Pause. You've been voted out by the majority. Please return to your seat.
I'm going to start off with saying if historical connection and indigenous roots legitimizes trumping sovereignty of nations, then modern borders are meaningless. And if it doesn't, then Zionism is a political movement. And we have evidence of this, as Theodore Herzl himself is and was an atheist. We also have quotes coming from Ben-Gurion, who said, we want to expel the Arabs. We also had other people who have referred to Arabs as rocks that needed to be moved throughout the land of Judea. I actually have the name of it right now, Weitzman. I also want to say that we wanted to look at the word of Palestine. I know you were mentioning that this came from the Romans. Actually, Herodotus, the father of history, mentioned Palestine 8 times. It actually comes from a Greek word describing the coast. So this isn't a term that came from the Romans of colonizing. And we actively see Zionism Palestine wasn't even the first option. Why did the Zionist Sixth Congress consider Uganda and Argentina? That is a colonial project.
Okay, so let me answer to those things because you said a lot of things. Herodotus that you're bringing up is a Greek person. The pre-Greek population in Crete were the Palestinians. So obviously the collective that is now the Greek Empire would like to call other territories as part of their territory. And
Who cares?
Call that land Palestine. But the moment that that land really became called Palestine is the moment that the Romans conquered,
Syria,
which is
Palestina,
way,
but they
which
still
is,
refer to it.
I let you finish. Way after the Greek Empire is the Romans, and in order to insult the memory of the Jews, they called that name Palestine. Why? Because that's actually also a Hebrew word, which means invaders. Now, I don't consider you to be an invader, but you should know that Plishtim, Palestinian, literally in Hebrew, means invaders. Now,
Okay. What other word can I, find some fucking dumbass, what's this study? What's this kind of thing called? Etymology. Yeah. I had entomology in my head, and I was like, no, that's for bugs. Etymology. Okay, we're just gonna keep making these etymological fucking claims. As if that's relevant.
we talked about colonization, decolonization, indigenous populations. On the territory that was the indigenous population, being the Hebrews, the Jews, the Israelites, that was colonized by different empires, there was never a country that was built on top of it since. It was always in the hand of foreign empires until it was revived to being the land of Israel. Now, I do support indigenous liberations all across the world. The Tibetans,
Israel's part of the American Empire. The fuck?
Yazidis, the Kurds, the Aboriginals.
Okay.
Now, there's different types of indigenous liberations. Some populations want a state. Some populations don't want a state.
So there was a sovereign state of Palestine.
There was not a sovereign state of Palestine. There was a British mandate of Palestine.
Okay, but there were still people who identified themselves as Palestinians.
Sure, I don't have a problem you identifying yourself as Palestinian.
Okay. So what I'm trying to say is that there were people who actually, you don't even need, technically under international law, you don't need to have a sovereign state in order for it to qualify as occupation. An occupation can be imposed on people who are not a part of a sovereign state, but of a collective identity, who have had, as you said earlier, a continuous presence on that land. I think one of the other
Jews had a continuous presence.
Technical arguments are not gonna work on this guy. He's way too fucking trained. For like a normie person who's, only studied this stuff as an amateur, like someone who only works in this field or like does this like as an activist for the most part. I mean, I don't know. Maybe there are some activists with like master's level of understanding international law that could own this guy, but like, it's just like he knows all the fucking counterpoints for the bullshit that he's trying to argue in favor of. That's why, like, you need to bring it back to the actual point of contention, which is that Israel is an apartheid state committing genocide. Currently illegally occupying the lives of 8 million Palestinians in Gaza and the West Bank, and constantly starting wars. It's bring it back to that, because it's just the reality that is in front of people's faces and is undeniable. Meanwhile, this guy can just squabble over history or historical details with you, because that's what he'd prefer to do, as a way to justify Israel's current mode of existence.
And so did the Canaanites and the people who converted to. I don't want to get into that debate, but besides that, there are people who have been there continuously.
The Jews.
And actually, there is plenty of ways to go about this, but there is evidence that prior to 1948 and prior to the creation of the modern day state of Israel, that there's an incredible influx of people who have converted to Judaism.
This is not true.
Yes, there is.
This is not true.
Actually from South Africa, multiple people.
This is not true.
After the
Jubilee,
fall,
please fact check.
Yeah, that's why I don't go into these kinds of, like, unless you're a historian or like have a, you know, pretty rock solid historiography you can map out in your head. It's like, this is just
of the names
pointless.
and give names and then give it. So you're saying that the
indigenous name to Neapolis.
So why are
so
you,
when
hold on,
you
hold on,
have
hold on.
certain territories like
talking about,
Al-Quds going back to Jerusalem, which actually is called Jerusalem, or Safed going back to Tzfat, which is
the etymology, dude, it's actually, this word means that, so therefore Israel is not doing apartheid or genocide. Philistine connects to this ancient Hebrew word that means invader or whatever. It's like, okay. Okay, so what does that mean? It means the Palestinians were invaders, man. Like, no, that's not. It's stupid.
Back.
So
but you're only talking about when Palestinians are suffering to war. I'm talking about when both are suffering to war. And
yeah, the Israelis are really suffering, dude. Damn, it must suck to be an Israeli. You get to live under the nuclear umbrella of having an, you know, you get to live under the military umbrella of the United States, you know, travel to any Western developed nation around the world you like. All the benefits of a social democracy are afforded to you if you're a Jewish citizen of Israel. But yeah, both sides are suffering. Meanwhile, Palestinians in the West Bank constantly getting terrorized by Israeli hooligans, settler terrorists, and people in Gaza are constantly under bombings and drone strikes and whatnot. You know, or man-made famine. But both sides are suffering. We gotta acknowledge the suffering on both sides. It's awful. Have you ever thought about the suffering between a coughing baby and an atomic bomb? You know, we gotta think about these things. What does the atomic bomb feel when it's dropped on the coughing baby? You know, maybe it'll have a CNN piece written about it where, you know, the atomic bomb talks about how it can't eat meat anymore because it blew up too many children or something. How sad for the atomic bomb.
And when you take the names,
who's suffering
Arabs,
from war?
Arabs
Suffering
are from
war from who?
Arabs are from Arabia,
Okay.
right? Jews are from Judea. It is very simple. Arabic language poured into that land, Arabic names poured into that land,
can I
is
first
not
ask
from
you
the
who
land
we
of
were
Israel.
at war
So
for it
us,
with? Who?
1948, Israel was attacked by all the surrounding Arab countries from Jordan, from Syria.
Yeah, after Plan Dalit had begun enacting and Zionist terrorist militias were committing massacres and killing Palestinian, like, just Palestinian villagers for like a couple months straight in order to clear them off their land. That's when the Arab-Israeli war started. After that, because of that.
Israel's
Lebanon,
existence,
and
prior
Egypt.
to Israel's existence.
Yeah, there were many confrontations that we had between our peoples, like in the 1930s and
Okay,
1920s,
I'd rather look
the Hebron massacre, where Haji Mina Hosseini incited the population of Hebron to go and kill the Jews.
Let's look at Palestine present, Palestine proper, whatever you want to call it, the British
Palestine
mandate.
/ Israel, it's fine.
Okay, no, from 1948, from prior to 1948.
Yeah.
People lived there and were forcibly displaced by a foreign entity that had come back. I view it as differently. I think that they have I think that they're
the Zionist terrorist militias. Yeah, they were foreigners for the most part. Yeah.
There is a Jewish connection to that land, and I don't think anyone
cannot be
here,
foreign.
But here's the thing: I said this earlier. If historical connection and indigeneity alone trumps whatever people are already there, then all modern borders. But that's what you're saying.
I'm just saying, don't call it foreign. I'm saying it trumps the idea that we're colonizers and foreign people. And
how can you call us a colonizer? We only permanently displaced 1 million people and occupy millions more, and are trying to displace even more. Like,
because you see me as a foreigner and other Israelis see you as a foreigner. So why did El Hate, geneticist from John Hopkins says that not a majority...
Okay. So irrelevant.
Source you other individuals who say bad things that are Palestinians.
The U.S. government in majority of its communications. The U.S. government this is the status quo. The U.S. majority calls it settlements. So let me answer you and them. Settlements are built by settlers. Settlers are foreigners. Jews come from Judea. We are not the foreign population. I
don't... You're from Miami, dude. Shut the fuck up.
Agree with an American who just converts to Judaism.
Oh my god, bro. French-born fucking Miami dickhead, dude. Like, really trying to argue in favor of this. Like, you could at least be Israeli-born if you're trying to fucking make this claim. It's just so ridiculous. I wish this guy with the glasses would get in on this, but I think, he's probably discouraged because this guy's claims are so stupid and irrelevant. And all he wants to do is talk around like historical details to try to make an example or show that he knows what he's talking about because he can cite all this irrelevant trivial bullshit that favors, his biases.
Converting to Judaism.
Some of them do. I'm not making,
percentage of them
but they
do.
still get a legitimate claim and have a take over the land over other people.
Each indigenous population controls their culture in a different way. The way the Jewish indigenous civilization controls itself is if you go through this many-year process of adopting an identity, a history, a culture, a value system, traditions. You are now part of the collective. It is not individuals that are indigenous. It is collectives.
So with this, so you're saying a collective identity that agree that they want to colonize illegally the West Bank.
We want to decolonize.
We have to pause. We're out of time. Thank you. Okay, Rudy, we're down to the final section where you will look around the circle, choose somebody who either you thought you had a really good conversation with earlier and you want to pick back up with, or somebody you haven't got to speak to. So look around the circle, select your person that you want to debate for the final 10 minutes.
First of all, thank you all for coming. I wish I can continue the conversation with all of you, but I'm going to pick the doctor to continue having a conversation.
Rudy, can you tell us why you chose the doctor to debate for the final section?
Of course. I think a lot of times our populations are conditioned to seeing each other as enemies. I don't think you see me as an enemy, and I'd like to have a conversation for...
He should see him as an enemy. Fuck this guy. He's an agent. I swear. Ain't no way he goes through all this bullshit. Maybe he's just that diehard. Maybe he's just that much of a diehard psycho for Israel. But if he was, he would be a lot more overt in his racist understanding of the conflict.
of how our peoples can be able to come together. You have a very kind spirit about you. You're genuine. You're someone who's connected to the land, and I believe you care about the peoples in that land. So I would like to speak about how we can move forward on that territory, because there's no future without our peoples there.
Maisaran claim that with the current situations, we don't see a genuine desire among Israelis to achieve peace.
So I agree that the Israeli government...
Yeah, that's true, and the polling bears that out. From Haaretz. Is this a poll from Haaretz? Is there a graph? Fine. Nearly half, 48%, agreed that Arabs should be expelled or transferred from Israel in a Pew Research poll in 2016. So that's half of Israeli Jews basically in favor of ethnic cleansing. And I imagine, you know, this article is basically saying that that kind of sentiment has only risen. To a majority at this point. In a poll for Channel 13 in early February, almost immediately after U.S. President Donald Trump announced his plan for Gaza, 72% of Israelis supported the plan to exile Palestinians. The wording used in the announcer's description of the poll, that's a national average among Jews. It would be close to Sorek's 82%, since very low support from Arab citizens on all related questions drives down to total average. The Channel 12 survey found 69% supported the plan with similar wording about removing Gaza. Once again, although not published, the Jewish portion of these samples would likely have been around 80% mark. So this analysis is basically saying around 80% of Israeli Jews currently support expelling Palestinians from Gaza. So, yeah.
Is doing nothing to change the current status quo and benefits from that status quo politically, economically, and in many ways. This is a critique that I have openly in Israel towards the government, towards extremist voices, which to me are embarrassing. The things that they're saying, like Ben Gvir and Smotrich, that are going and talking about ethnic cleansing. This is horrible and not what our culture has to be. And I always tell Israelis that the biggest win of Hamas is not how many Israelis they killed, is how many Israelis they turned to being just like them, hateful of an entire population.
It is sad to think, and this game we can go back and forth and play the chicken and the egg game. Who caused the Israelis to become pro-genocide, pro-ethnic cleansing? Is it Hamas is causing that? Hamas just started in 1986. And we have to understand that the actions of the Israeli governments, the actions of discrimination and apartheid is what is causing us to have these conflicts and fights between each other. You have the power, you have the military, you have the money, you have the support of the whole Western world. For God's sake, you can do something different about what's happening there. We are tied. We are stuck in the corner. Our kids are being killed right and left. Our homes are being destroyed. You know what? If all what I have is just to throw a little rock at you, you have to understand where that's coming from.
I understand, and I never made the claim that the Israeli hate towards Palestinians that exist comes from Hamas, that has existed since 1948, from the conflicts that we have, even from the Hebron massacre in 1929.
Wait, what?
That has existed since 1948, from the conflicts that we have, even from the Hebron.
Yeah, it has existed since 1948 because Israel is founded on ethnic cleansing, dude.
One massacre in 1929. I actually go to the British that divided our people. That's where it's sourced. Not me or not you, but there are ways to move forward. Now you called Israel an apartheid, and apartheid is one country, one state, one civilization with different rights for different peoples. Those who are living in Israel have equal rights. There's another territory called the West Bank, Judea and Samaria, which has a different jurisdiction.
A large prison.
Just different jurisdiction. Gaza has different jurisdiction. I'm against the division of this land. I want to see this land united, but that's actually the opposite of an apartheid, because an apartheid would be one country with different rights for different people. Now
yeah, it's all governed by the same government, the entire land. Israel controls everything from the river to the sea, buddy. That's the point. That's why it's an apartheid. It's not an apartheid because of Israel's own internal different designations for, different Palestinian areas. It's like saying the fucking South Africa wasn't an apartheid because the townships had some form of self-governance. Or the Bantustans had some form of self-governance, internal governance. It's stupid.
We're talking about different territories, different jurisdictions. I don't have a right there. They don't have a right here. It's bad, but it's not an apartheid. Now, you said something I actually agree with you. We have the power. With that power comes the responsibility. And this is something that every Jew, every Israeli, every Zionist should listen. We have the power to correct the problems of our Palestinian family and our cousins. And we talk about tikkun olam and ola goyim, healing the world and empowering other nations. Well, we need to do tikkun babaitim abnei dodim. We need to heal our own home with our own cousins.
Israeli government, criminalizing free speech, pushing...
That's not in Israel. That's in America, you're saying.
Yeah, but AIPAC is an extension of what's happening in Israel.
I'm not pro-AIPAC.
That's good to know.
Yeah, I'm not for America getting involved in the Middle East. I'm not for that.
Now, if you...
I'm just for America sending unlimited aid to Israel. And I will muddy the waters as best as I can in order to make that happen.
You mentioned earlier about the division between the West Bank areas, Area A, Area B, Area C.
Correct.
You served in the army, right? Yes. It's really, do you think they have the full freedom to do whatever they want in Area A?
They don't have the full freedom to do it.
It's just a few miles of distance. People cannot drive out of these areas.
Absolutely.
Young people are losing hope. What do you expect from a 20-year-old boy or a 20-year-old young man who has no hope to get married, no hope to get a job, what do you expect?
No, I understand that. That's why when I look at Israelis who become extremists, Palestinians who become extremists, I understand where it's coming from.
And what are you doing about that?
Yeah, the Israelis who become extremists are fucking psychos. They're fucking fascist psychos, and the Palestinians that decide, hey, actually, maybe armed resistance is a reasonable option here, are defending their land from occupiers who are trying to ethnically cleanse them from their land. The big difference there.
The settlers.
One is a Nazi, one is a resistance to that. One is a fascist, the other is an anti-fascist. Or at least partisan against
enough of us who
in just a few months
we're going to address the Jews in Judea and Samaria, but just as there are extremist individuals, there are people like us who don't hate one another.
So as long you keep rejecting and refusing to use the word Palestine.
I don't reject the word Palestine.
You keep saying Judea and Samaria. You keep saying that.
I mean, that territory has been historically called Judea and Samaria.
You have to understand I'm telling you that psychologically, if you wanted to achieve peace, if you want to achieve
real justice,
ease, you have to also understand what your words, how powerful they are. When you keep saying Judea and Samaria, you know what? This is what people call Palestine. This is what people call home.
Every time
this
I say Judea and Samaria, I say West Bank / Judea and Samaria, because Judea and Samaria is not talking about the entirety of what is Israel / Palestine.
It is specifically what is today the West Bank. What you're implying when you use those terms, but this is what happens in the Palestinian mind.
Where does the word West Bank come from? It's the British that use that term.
What
It is the common term.
What
Originally it was called
Palestinians get in
Wow, more etymology, thanks. Fucking irrelevant.
mind when you keep using those terms, like, okay, we're next. They're gonna come and take us out. That's
right.
What comes in the mind.
When Jews hear the term Palestine, they think, oh, you're trying to erase us. This is where we need to be able to accept each other.
Yeah, one is a racist psycho. One, in this case, one is racist psychosis. In the case of Jews being afraid of the word Palestine. The other is a legitimate fear born out of the reality on the ground.
There's identity. I'm a Jew. I'm a Hebrew. I'm an Israelite. This land has historically, to my people, been called Israel/Judean Samaria, the specific region.
Your actions
but
are
I'm
speaking
not,
louder than
not
your
my
words.
actions. Not my actions. Other people's actions that you can condemn.
You accepted to serve.
Your actions are coming on here to. Your actions are literally coming onto a Jubilee episode to debate 20 people who are actively engaged in, pursuing Palestinian liberation and telling them they're wrong. That's your action. To be a mouthpiece for liberal Zionism or just, a more soft-spoken version of what the Israeli government wants. That's your action, buddy, dude. It's
Serve in the army. That's causing so much atrocity.
I had no other choice to serve in the army.
So many soldiers are rejecting in the army. That's causing so much atrocity.
You had no other choice to serve in the army, dude. You're not from Israel. He's not even from Israel, and he's still like he's born in Paris. I don't know, his Wikipedia said he was raised in Miami, I think. Oh no, he's he's an international guy. He's in the army right now. Oh, brother. Wait, he was in Gaza? What the fuck? He was also one of these dudes at George Washington. He was also one of these fucking disruptors or agitators at the protests, too. That's great. This guy sucks, dude. He's a fucking agent.
Serve in the army.
So many soldiers are rejecting and facing the consequences. That's bravery. That's bravery on their behalf.
I served in the army proudly. You don't have a weak Jew in front of you. You have a proud Judean warrior in front of you.
You have a proud Judean warrior in front of you.
Every time I say Judean Samaria, I say West Bank/Judean Samaria because Judean Samaria is not talking. It's the British
using those terms. Like
the term Palestine, they think, oh, you're trying to. I'm an Israelite. This land has historically accept each other's identity. I'm a Jew. I'm a Hebrew. I'm an Israelite. This land has historically, to my people, been called Israel/Judean Samaria, the specific
your
region.
Actions
but
are
I'm not
louder than
my
your
actions.
words.
Not my actions. Other people's actions that you can condemn.
You accepted to serve in the army. That's causing so much atrocity.
I had no other choice to serve in the army. I served
so many soldiers are rejecting and facing the consequences. That's bravery. That's bravery on their behalf.
I served in the army proudly. You don't have a weak Jew in front of you. You have a proud Judean warrior in front of you.
To be proud.
You have a proud Judean warrior in front of you. Oh my god, buddy. This is the face of a warrior. You have a proud Judean warrior. Oh, brother. Meanwhile, he's too busy getting his face dazzled up for the camera. uh, God, it's so... The cringe is emanating.
Proud of a machine that's killing people right
not
and
a machine.
left.
It is a
Who
machine
sends them
that
a little
has,
text message, get out of your house before we bomb it. That's you're proud of being part
condemn
of that.
certain actions, certain policies, certain things that they do because I'm an individual first before anything else. And when there are countries all around that have constantly attacked and tried to kill our people, without an IDF, we would not exist.
You're the one who started.
No, we're not.
I mean,
didn't you say we shouldn't be pointing at who started the chicken or the egg?
No, I didn't
now you're
say that.
saying
I said
starting.
that will be argument. You're saying that these countries are coming to attack you.
Yes,
imagine if a foreign country come and invaded California. You expect Texas
and Nevada? Are you saying that the Israelis are invaders?
The Israeli arms invaded Palestine.
We're invaders.
Absolutely.
We're the indigenous people that came back to our land.
They came with them when they came peacefully. We opened our doors for them.
I'm sure.
But when
1929, it was so peaceful.
When they came peacefully, when they said, "Okay, we want to live here," we opened their doors. Exactly.
Many Palestinians
but when
were
you
not
start
peaceful.
showing you start showing the intentions, when you brought the weapons and you start killing people, that's when people attacked.
See, the difference in this conversation is that.
The difference is that y'all don't have the sources, and you should at least know a quick overview of the history of Plan Dalit, because you know it spits directly in the face of all of Rudy's, or most of Rudy's claims here that Israeli Jews are indigenous. Starting in March 1948, okay, Plan Dalit. This was the terrorist militias doing terrorism to clear out Palestinian villages. Arab-Israeli War started in May. I wonder why the Arab-Israeli War started. Maybe we can connect those dots without having to read through the entire Wikipedia page, I hope. Whoever's still with me on this video. Anyway.
That there are bad actors on both sides. I'm identifying the individual bad actors on the Israeli side, identifying the bad actors on the Palestinian side, and saying, do not attach these bad actors to all Palestinians. What you're doing is identifying the bad actors here and saying it's all Israelis and refusing to identify bad actors. I didn't say all.
I said majority. They came on the borders of Gaza.
That's horrible
and they're cheering the things that you cheering death to Arabs, right and left.
It's a minority of the population.
That's not minority.
It's a great minority.
It's not a minority. Considering back in 2016, almost half of Israeli Jews wanted to expel Palestinians from Gaza before October 7th. Long before October 7th.
And minority. It should be zero. It should be zero.
Is Israel a democratic state?
Yes.
So why would a minority be able to control the actions of the government?
Great question.
This is the majority
we have a
of
parliamentary system government where you have all these different parties, and in order to have power, you need to have over 60 seats out of 120 seats in order to have the majority.
So it's not a minority.
You don't have a 60-party seat. You have a 20, you have a 5, you have a 2, and the majority is very small. So then a party with 2 seats that is a minority has the ability to take out.
I find that hard to believe.
It's unfortunate. That's the reality of the political.
No, it's because a majority of those people align with Netanyahu and Gavir on these major issues. That's why they're able to, at least on the Palestine question, majority of Israel aligns with Netanyahu and Ben Gavir, and that's why they're able to maintain a coalition.
that
system. That's
why we got to change it.
Things that all
I'm
all
not
the
here
other
to speak for Netanyahu. There's plenty of criticism that I have in Netanyahu. Okay, we can talk about Netanyahu and Ben Gvir, Smotrich and bad actors and bad individuals. What I'm talking about is how do we move forward from here? It's not going to come from the politicians, right?
It's going to come from the majority of the Israeli people to accept the rights of the Palestinians to be equal.
I agree with you, but you have to accept my rights to be able to be a human being here and not demonize my people.
Sir, I worked as a...
You're in America! It's up to this guy, actually, to accept Rudy's rights. That's what's going to solve the problem here. Ah! It's so stupid. And this guy just says it with such a straight face, as if he's not, like, a fucking blathering, like, as if he might as, you know... Ugh, so many insults flying through my head. Fucking baby-brained, dude. Like, it's crazy. It's up to these people with virtually no political power to accept Rudy Rockman's rights. You know, a guy who has lived his life traveling across the Western world. Was not even born in Israel, but went there to join the IDF voluntarily. And is now, and went back, according to his Wikipedia, at least, to go serve in Gaza, as Israel was committing genocide, and now he's here defending Israel.
The dentist
But it's up to these guys who don't have any of that political power or access to the system to change things. Yeah.
In Bethlehem, outside of the city of Bethlehem, next to a place called Movie Bitar, where my patients were Jews, Muslims, and Christians. And guess what? All what they care about, how much it's going to hurt to pull out a tooth when they're sitting in the room. So what I'm trying to tell you here that we have no problem living with each other, but not with a gun on our head. Not when you're taking my house. Not when you're telling me you cannot go to work every day. Not when you humiliate me on every checkpoint.
You remember who you're talking to. I'm against the checkpoints. I'm against the walls that divide our land. I'm against the fact.
Okay, so then why are you here?
That we're
what are you doing to become the majority? You are a minority.
No, we're not. We're silent, a large population. I wouldn't say it's the majority or a minority, but we're a large population, and we need to create a social revolution. And we in this land have to start changing the conversation, no longer demonizing one another, and being able to envision a future where we live together.
Can you also add to your activism that you guys...
Don't demonize my fascist ethno-state currently committing a genocide while maintaining an apartheid. Don't demonize it! It'll ruin the conversation! Y'all saw... Wish I knew more German so I could do a better accent, but... You know, it's like being like, how can you demonize the Volk? Or, no, how can you... 999. How can you demonize the Volk? I suck at impressions. The Volk simply want self-determination in their rightful homeland. 999.
Get off the freedom of speech of America. Let us speak whenever we want to say. Well, you have to speak about that as well.
I believe in freedom of speech in every country in the world as a moral.
Your government is imposing so much restrictions on the freedom of speech of Americans. And we are not liking that.
I don't think
and you are losing the support of Americans because of that.
I don't think Americans should have a limitation of freedom of speech unless someone is trying to invoke violence on someone and saying, I'm planning to, then that's different than just saying, I'm expressing an idea that I have.
How many professors lost their jobs because they said they're anti-genocide?
Well, a lot of professors. I went to Columbia. They're actually supporting the genocide of Jews and saying that...
They're supporting the genocide of Jews. Where is the genocide of Jews happening, dude? Actually, Hamas is committing genocide against the Jews. Yeah. Oh my god. Fucking mirror world, dude. How do you
October
look
But
at
there's
was
no
great.
genocide against Jews, man.
There
I
is
don't know where you're
attempted
coming.
genocide
That
against
victim
Jews.
mentality. Nobody's after you guys.
A lot of people are after us.
After your
In
actions.
New York City, okay, we are 13% of the population. Over 60% of total hate crimes are targeted against Jews.
Because
Don't
you
tell me that
reported very
anti-Semitism
well.
that doesn't exist.
I sit down with the chief of police.
60%.
I'll tell you what. I sat
There
down
are
with the
plenty
chief
of actions that people
I
don't
sat down
report.
with the chief of police
Are
here
you
in the city.
minimizing anti-Semitism?
I'm not. I'm saying you are so much better in reporting that.
Okay, but it
better than
exists,
everybody
right?
else.
It's clearly
I'm
a
not saying
problem.
it doesn't exist.
It exists.
But I'm saying that's what we heard from the chief of police of many cities around here. Guys, you need to report hate crimes against your community.
Of course.
Because this community reports it better than everybody else.
Okay,
and collect all the benefit of reporting them. So you guys know how
what's
to play the
interesting
game.
about
That's what I'm saying.
anti-Semitism? The far right blames us for being the left. The far left thinks we're the right. The black supremacists, the Farrakhan.
You are a right-winger, dipshit. Yeah, bro, you support a fascist ethno-state. You're a right-winger. Wow, the far left accurately calls us right. Right-wing. Damn. Man, what is the far left cooking up? Maybe they're cooking up some honesty.
Were enemy number one. The white supremacists, the neo-Nazis.
That's not victim mentality.
It's not. It's understanding the reality of
you think everybody's
historically.
after you?
No, the extremes are always obsessed against the Jewish people.
Why?
Why? Because the Jewish people have a function in this earth that we have yet to fulfill, which is to be the world's immune system. Okay, we chose that responsibility. It is.
What the fuck, dude? Yeah, the Jewish people are the chosen ones. Dude, this is crazy. Oh, at least he's being more honest here when he's coming out with his espousing his Jewish supremacist ideas.
It's our mission statement of the world. And the reason why there's anti-Semitism, it is a rejection and reaction to the Jewish people failing their purpose.
I think that's with all due respect to what you just said, it's really a wild dream that you have. That people after you
the
because
idea
of
of
your
a unity
qualities.
around the world is a wild dream, right?
No,
the Jewish people believe.
Wild dream that you have. That people after you
the
because
idea
of
of
your
a unity
qualities.
around the world is a wild dream, right?
No.
The idea that Jews are the chosen people to bring that about is a wild one. You're placing yourself on a pedestal, bruh. Like, how do you not... Does he not see that? Like, you're placing yourself and your identity above others.
The Jewish people believe in a reality called Mashiach, a reality where we will have peace in this earth.
People blame everything on anti-Semitism right now.
No, there's a lot of anti-Semitism that exists. It's not everything. Everyone is an anti-Semite. I don't consider you an anti-Semite, okay? Because we had a conversation. We understood that you define Zionism differently,
exactly.
Right? And so I'm not.
So what I'm asking you, if you want to tackle this issue, and we go back to it, is try to understand when people are criticizing the actions of the Israeli government, when people are expecting from it to act like a civilized nation, they're not being anti-Semite.
Correct. But when people are demonizing Israel, delegitimizing Israel,
demonize and delegitimize my settler colonial fascist ethno-state that's committing genocide, please don't do that.
Holding double standards, they are
There's
being
no double
anti-Semite.
standards.
There are double standards.
There are no double standards.
Of course.
Why is it okay to be double standards when we get amount of support from America, but it's not okay when the Americans are criticizing our actions?
What does it do with America? I'm against the U.S. support of America. When there are actual genocides happening,
you never said,
and no one is talking about those things that are happening.
You never said it's double standards that the U.S. government gives $3 billion every year to Israel.
I did. Well, is it a double standard or is it an intentional investment in order to control Israel?
But it's not the same for every other country.
America is really controlling Israel, but they've really had Israel on the leash these last 3 years. Yeah, totally.
But that's not a double standard. You're helping a country in order to be able to control it. That has nothing to do with double standards. Double standard would be looking at all the problems in this world and realizing.
What would Israel do without American control? If that's the case, and the U.S. is controlling Israel because of this, then, what is... What is Rudy's end?
Saying, wow, there's so many people.
What is the end of Rudy's logic here? Like, is America controlling Israel a bad thing in his mind? Like, to what end is America controlling Israel for what? Like, I know the real answer. I'm just like wondering what. I mean, I think this guy's just full of shit. He's an agent, but like there's got to be some rationality to what he thinks he's doing here, right?
Here in Sudan that have been killed, in Nigeria that have been killed, in Israel, Palestine.
Or maybe he's really just doing all this for money and for, bragging rights back in the fascist ethno-state of Israel to be like, oh yeah, I was one of our top Hezbollists. I owned these activists.
Have been killed, and caring about all of them, or looking at Palestinians. When Hamas is killing Palestinians, I don't see any protests. I don't see any riots.
Are we supposed to protest Hamas? When did America give Hamas billions of dollars in military aid? So dumb.
People choose what to be active about certain topics, right?
They choose to care.
Like, these kinds of retorts aren't even like surface level. It's fucking like you didn't even take a second to think about like the through line and how and like, oh, why don't you protest Hamas? It's like, are we supposed to? Are we responsible for Hamas? Is Hamas supposed to be representative of the American taxpayer?
Care about your people, my family, only when it can be used against me.
Do that? Why?
Because the world is profiting from this. The media companies, the military companies.
Anybody who is in the media, who acts in any...
I'm with this glasses guy. This guy is like so... This guy is so full of shit, and it's just so like, how can you even engage with this guy in a respectful way, honestly? It's so annoying.
Way to criticize what the Israeli government is doing, he's losing his job.
That's not true. All the media companies are against Israel. Everything that you see on the medias are always going against Israel.
I sat down.
If I could just...
All the media...
Israeli government is doing, he's losing his job.
That's not true. All the media companies are against Israel.
All the media companies are against Israel. That's why the New York Times had a memo. Oh, all the media companies are against Israel. That's why New York Times memo was telling their journalists to avoid using words like genocide, ethnic cleansing, and occupied territory, because they're against Israel. The Great Lady hates Israel. Everybody knows it. Oh yeah, The Atlantic is also owned by a former Israeli Jeffrey Goldberg, who's a former Israeli concentration camp guard. He was in the IDF, editor-in-chief at The Atlantic. The Ellisons, Larry Ellison's own media. The Ellisons, who are very pro-Israel billionaires, they own Paramount and Warner now, which means they own CBS and CNN. thought CNN was Disney. Doesn't really matter, but yeah. Anyway, like half the media companies are owned and operated by people that are super pro-Israel. At least half of the legacy media publishers are like that, and the rest are just as, complete. The rest are not much better in terms of their attitude and coverage of Gaza, you know.
That you see on the medias are always going against Israel.
I sat down.
If I could just,
I love the dude in the glasses. It's just like this guy is living on another planet. That's the appropriate reaction here.
That you see on the medias are always going against Israel.
This guy, he's, just like.
Bruh.
I sat down.
If I could just to redirect this a little bit, I did hear points of agreement, frustration with AIPAC, frustration.
Wow, frustration with AIPAC. Fuck, dude. Like, we keep the singling out of targets is just like has become so unproductive, even if that target is like a major player, because there's Kufi, there's other J Street, and all these other ways for the Israel lobby to get around using AIPAC as a donor / funder. Like, it's kind of pointless. Like, you should be against the Israel lobby. You should be for them getting fairer regulation or just being exiled. There shouldn't really even be a lobbying industry at all. Because it's basically just legalized corruption. Where you pay people to go fucking get in the ear of the congressperson you donated to. That's how lobbying works. So that the congress people you donate to pass the laws that you want, that are where you can hire a lobbyist to write these bills or outlines for legislation, and then fund a congressperson to sponsor these bills, get a lobbyist to hand them the policy drafts, whatnot. Anyway, it's just, regardless, that's
with Netanyahu,
tangent.
Agreements on, things that you want to see change in Israel. I would love to hear from Rudy, and then your response, Doctor, on like what changes do we want to see where there is alignment?
I think the most productive way we can continue this conversation.
We need an arms embargo against Israel to force them to change. Just like a boycott against South Africa is what worked to force the end of apartheid. And similar to South Africa, as the apartheid in South Africa was dying, South Africa did launch a bunch of wars on its fronts, or, the white ruling minority launched wars in Angola and surrounding countries to help solidify the rule of apartheid in South Africa. Israel's following a similar track, just more dangerous, considering their threat. Like, Israel is a threat against the global economy at this point. Anyway,
is to understand how do we change the narratives for our collectives to start seeing each other as human beings and being able to exist in this land. So that goes to the Israeli population. How can we start seeing the Palestinian identity as a legitimate identity, connect?
Deprogram yourself and learn the actual history of Israel. That's one way. come to the recognition of why armed resistance happens, why something like October 7th would happen. That might be a good question to ask for every Israeli to ask themselves instead of just, oh, they did it because they're bad and they don't like Jews. Or they're anti-Semitic. The Palestinians don't want peace and Hamas doesn't want peace. You know, instead of just doing that bullshit. Pretending like Hamas is a malicious actor in this process. Or acting like Hamas is a totally malicious actor, devoid of rationality or a genuine desire for emancipation is totally unproductive. But, you know, if you tell that to this guy, he will call you anti-Semitic, I imagine. And most people, because they have some kind of job, don't want to be caught, you know, actually defending the virtues of armed resistance in Palestine. So that topic was avoided here. Anyway.
To this land as their suffering, as real suffering, and how could Palestinians start to understand that the Jewish people are also connected to this land, have a right to be here when they're being attacked and suffering? That's also something to condemn. So how do you suggest that we can change the cultural view, not just the political?
Yes. You cannot put the
American settlers were getting attacked by the natives. Don't you know they're suffering? Oh, it's so...
carriage before the horse. You cannot expect people who don't have any human rights, they don't have the ability to find food or to feed their children or to protect their families, and then expect them to go into that high level of civilized social understanding. First, let them have the freedom, the ability to leave, the self-determination right. Let them be feeling that they're safe in their homes, in their cities, in their villages. Nobody's going to come and take their food. No one's going to come and bomb their homes. I am telling you, just a few months ago, my friends, he has a huge amount of sheep in the Mazra' al-Sharqiyya, which is a town north of Ramallah. And they just came and took all the cattle that he has. This is the fear that Palestinians have. What do you expect us to do? Just sit down and be sitting ducks being shot by the Israeli soldiers? First, let's give them the rights. Let's give them the sense of security and safety that Israelis are not going to come after them every chance they have. That's the first step.
Israelis are not coming after all Palestinians. There's some bad actors.
There's some bad apples. There's just bad apples that, you know, the Israeli government systematically protects and funds.
That happen like in all populations, but this like generalization of Israelis coming at this.
I lived as a kid there, and I saw what I'm looking at it from the other side. I look at it from the other side.
Okay. So I hear your experiences in Bethlehem, which is a house of bread in Hebrew, an ancient Jewish town. Okay, so let's talk about what you were just saying.
Wow.
I don't agree with you entirely that they can't do anything. They can't have any conversation. No one can be seen as other than just being an extremist. I don't agree with that, but I do agree with you that Israel with the power has a greater responsibility to change. And I always talk about that. So if Israel removed Hamas, gave people freedom of speech, invested in education.
If they removed Hamas, yeah, that's probably the key point here, I guess. He's just gonna ride on blaming Hamas for all this. No, if Israel... it's so dumb. Hamas is the fucking it's the banner under which all most armed resistance in Gaza organizes under right now. There are probably plenty of secular Palestinians, you know, maybe even Christians fighting alongside Hamas right now. In Gaza. Like, it's so ridiculous that would be a precondition.
in infrastructure, in job opportunities. And slowly, when we saw that the population is not reacting that way to the Israeli government to remove the checkpoints.
History shows us otherwise.
History shows what otherwise.
History shows us that whenever Israelis have the full power of controlling the lives of Palestinians, they're going to make their life hell. They're going to make their life miserable.
I think that the Palestinians living in Israel are the freest Palestinians that are living anywhere in the world.
I don't.
No, they're not. They're less free than Palestinians living in Europe or America, because at least Europe and America don't have redlining laws or, culture of redlining non-Jewish citizens of Israel into their own, ghettified neighborhoods.
I don't think even the Israelis want to do that. Strategically, they think it's a bad idea to put all Palestinians under one state. Demographically, there will be minority. That's how they're thinking.
We wouldn't agree with some people, but we wouldn't, because a lot of people aren't aware that there are 12 tribes of Israel. The Ethiopians are one of the ones that...
How is that relevant, dude? Ah, fucking hell, dude. There are 12 this dude. Not everyone knows there are 12 tribes of Israel.
That were displaced of the 9.5 that have yet to come back.
We want to respect the intelligence of the viewers. Like this, what are you talking about?
We are made up of 12
exactly.
tribes, the Jewish people. This is not an idea. If they're Native Americans are made up of many tribes or many nations, it's also a truth. Because you haven't heard or don't know or aren't aware, that's something different. We're made up of 12 tribes. Today's population of the Jewish people, 16 million around the world, is 2.5. There are 9.5 that you have to return. If they are to return and Palestinians are to return, there's no more demographic threat that Israelis feel. You are able to have full equal rights.
Why do Israelis feel a demographic threat? Oh, right. Because it's racist. That's what it is. Like, come on. Can somebody just say that to him? Doctor, like, please stop holding back.
It's in that land with the right of return, and we're able to transcend and to move forward. But you shouldn't be speaking to Israelis who are afraid of telling you the truth or who are weak. And I shouldn't be speaking to Palestinians who are tokens, are just trying.
If white Christians had a demographic problem and were espousing the problem, well, they do espouse the same kind of demographic majority-ish. White nationalists in America use the same kind of rhetoric talking about, white replacement theory and their demographic problems in the US, if you want an analogy. Like, this is just being a Jewish Nazi. Maybe you're a less violent Jewish Nazi, but ultimately you still believe in the fucking racial, the word is escaping me. Racial essentialism that is like some kind of fucking metaphysical characteristic that Jews can't resolve with its neighbor, that Jews cannot resolve with whoever they live alongside of. Therefore, there must be a demographic majority. It's so stupid, and it's fucking, it's just Jewish supremacy. Like, I mean, this guy already espoused that claim by talking about Jews were chosen to bring about world peace. It's like, yeah, dude, every other fucking fundy, fascist, like, religious movement also has the same fucking bullshit idea in their head. Like, what do you think ISIS zealots think they're fighting for? They think Muslims and their whatever caliphate is gonna bring about world peace. Like, yeah, okay, that doesn't make you you're not different just because you're Jewish. You're not different from these other nationalist fascist projects just because it's Jewish.
Trying to demonize other Palestinians, or fans who are here to try to use our conflict to go against one another or to gain popularity. We have a future together, and it's one that includes both aspirations that we have and ending the injustice for both peoples.
I reciprocate by saying that Palestinians have no problem with peaceful solutions that will guarantee their dignity, their ability to live, their ability to have futures where they can raise their children in a safe and a comfortable environment. Palestinians don't have the desire to kill or attack every Jewish or every Israeli. All what Palestinians are doing are defending themselves from those atrocities and those attacks that are happening against them. I believe strongly once the Israelis stop attacking, dehumanizing, bombing Palestinians' villages and homes, Palestinians will not have a problem with them. I want you to know that as a Palestinian.
I agree with most are like that, and inshallah we'll get to that reality.
All right, let's stop there. Let's give them a hand.
No thanks to you, though. What does this guy's Twitter look like? Like, what does he spend these days tweeting about? Or, I don't know, what's he active on? Like, okay, he's reposting the... I wonder if he said anything about Hassan. That's mostly what I'm wondering about. Like, is he just like a libtard, or is he actually like, you know, an operator? None. What did he say about the left? I don't know. This guy's fucking dumb as rocks, but I think he's an agent.
Rudy, thank you. Doctor, thank you. We are going to record a follow-up episode to continue the conversation with these two, so stay tuned for that, and follow the Surrounded podcast wherever you get your podcasts. I want to thank everybody who...
Not this doctor. Bring on Dr. Morandi or Norm Finkelstein, please.
Participate in this episode. If you are a viewer and you're commenting on this video, please acknowledge the humanity of everybody here. They are being vulnerable. This is not an easy thing to do. So thank you all. Snaps to you. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.
In the first half was very heated.
The comments
a lot
of
of people
cooking Jubilee, dude. Wearing mountain boots or military boots. Fuck. The comments are cooking him a bit. Cooking Jubilee.
People were pointing fingers, calling each other names, speaking over one another. But the second half, we actually see it changing and talking about solutions.
I did have mixed feelings. He either extremely well trained to present a kinder, nicer, positive image of an Israeli soldier to gain the hearts and the minds of the American public, or he's having a change of heart of what his government is doing, and I'm hoping this is what it is.
We need to understand that we are family. We not...
Yeah, I'm with the doctor there, but I think it's unfortunately the former. He's probably a well-trained agent.
Only descend from Ibrahim, from Abraham, from Yitzhak and Ishmael, but we also descend from the same ancestors a few generations ago. We are eternally linked to this land, and yes, we should criticize and talk about the things that are wrong for our people, but never in a way...
Okay, the reason he talks about this stuff in that way is because he's a fucking nationalist zealot. That's it. Like, he's always bringing it back to, like, some fucking biblical bullshit. Like, no, dude, if your arguments and what you believed stood on its own merits, you wouldn't be fucking talking about we descended from yada yada to blah blah blah. Like, who cares?
To demonize the entirety of the other, and we need to start listening to one another to understand what are the non-negotiables.
Once the Israelis realize and understand that they're not superior than Palestinians, they don't have more rights, they have to realize and come to an understanding they're not above the law, they're not above the human rights laws and rules.
You have to realize that if you care about Jewish and Israeli safety, you also have to care about Palestinian safety. They're connected. You cannot want Jewish safety if you want to, demolish the safety of Palestinians, because they're going to demand their safety. That's their right as humans.
So overall, I'm very happy with the outcome. I'm happy that people are willing to engage with one another, and I hope that that inspires and empowers a lot of people who will watch this to do the same.
Well, this is me engaging with this insanity. Crazy that this is still where the conversation... Crazy that this is still sort of where the mainstream It's crazy that this is where the mainstream conversation still kind of is, where it's just like,
a country that is committing apartheid, is committing genocide.
Oh, let's I see you as my family, but you're wrong. You're wrong for protesting this stuff. And you're actually an anti-Semite if you're an anti-Zionist. It's like, okay, dude. Oh fuck, they had another hour-long conversation. And he keeps wearing the keffiyeh on his head like a dude. Ah! It's so fuckboy. It's like, ugh. It's like, I don't know. I think this guy's it's hard for me to believe this guy is genuine at this point, because it's like, how do you see everything that's unfolded, especially within the last month since this Iran war started, and still are not shaken in your view of like Israel being good or like Zionism being good and pursuant of peace. Ugh. It's crazy, dude. But motherfuckers are crazy out there. It's just the world we live in, I guess. Anyway, YouTubers, if you liked the video, like and subscribe. Do it now.
If historical...
Boost my algo. Do it. Anyway, love y'all. Thanks for sticking to the end for some reason. Maybe you'll learn something. Maybe not. Maybe I was entertaining enough to make you crack a smile. But this was by far the most annoying Jubilee debate I've ever witnessed. Anyway, like and subscribe. Peace. Bye.